Hello, everyone. I'm Mackenzie Jacob, your host, and welcome back to Dressed Rehearsal, the podcast where we discuss personal style and the roles that shape us on stage and off. Today's episode, we take a bit of a different route. Rather than exploring fashion's intersection with Broadway, we're leaning into the idea of personal style within artistry itself. Our guest, theater photographer Rebecca J. Michelson, has spent the last 5 years capturing some of Broadway's most defining moments. From an artist's 54 Below cabaret debut to the night they win their first Tony Award, Rebecca is there, lens in hand, immortalizing the light and legacy of theater makers. Her work is rooted in community and connection, honoring both the intimate and the iconic moments that make live theater so transformative. In 2022, she was recognized by the Broadway Women's Fund as one of the 30 women to watch on Broadway, a testament to the impact of her vision and voice. I'm so excited for you to listen to my conversation with Rebecca about the role of photography in shaping the story of Broadway and how she found her own personal style through the artistry of capturing others. And welcome, Rebecca J. Michelson, to the podcast. How are you?
I'm good, and you pronounced my name right, which is lovely. So many people do not pronounce my name right, but it is Michelson. It just does not, it's not spelled like that.
Right.
I have an
Yeah.
A in it. So it's
Well,
confusing, but I appreciate that you said it right because now when people listen, they'll know how to say it.
everyone thinks my last name is Jacobs with an S, and I've
Yeah,
had friends in my life for like 5+ years, and I see my contact in their phone, and I'm like, oh,
and me too. Same. Or like someone that I've known for like years and they're like Rebecca Michelson and I'm like that's not how you say it. It's fine. Rebecca J. Michelson with an A has a great photo career if she ever wants one.
right.
Get
Like,
credited like that all the time.
oh my God, that's true. Because to find your work, wow.
Anyways, good to see you for having me.
Of course. And so we start off every episode with how did you get bit by the theater bug? And also in your case, the photography bug.
Oh gosh. Okay. Long story short, I grew up in Philly, outside of Philly. I was lucky that my parents both like love the arts, like they're always very cultured. Like we went on like cultural vacations to like Europe and stuff. Like we never went to the beach. So I was very lucky and grateful that my parents always wanted us to be learning. And so they took us into New York and Philly, but like mostly New York to see shows. And my first Broadway show was Beauty and the Beast when I was 7, which was also my mom's first Broadway show, which was
Wait, how
cute.
sweet.
We went with like the whole family. Apparently, I wouldn't stop talking, but like I do remember that I loved it. But my dad grew up in Brooklyn, and so he had been seeing theater like his whole life. So like he kind of got us involved, and now, and then we kind of came into the city once every couple of months to see a Broadway show, but it was always like whatever my parents wanted to see.
If it makes you feel better, I saw Jersey Boys at 7 and I was like, what are we doing here? Like, why would you take two 7-year-olds? My first show was Guys and Dolls, which like with Lauren Graham, like love it.
I saw that too.
Okay, but like
But
that's not
at 7,
right. Like, is that the first show? We
that's
like
funny.
it was me and like four of my little friends, and we all look at each other, we go, what is happening?
That's quite a show for a child to see.
Right. Beauty and the Beast
That's
feels
fun.
a
Beauty and
lot
the Beast
better.
makes more sense, yes.
Yeah.
And I love Beauty and the Beast is my mom's favorite Disney movie, and I love Disney. And like obviously when I was little, like everyone did, I think. But so I was very lucky that I got to see a lot of theater. And then I think when I was 10, my parents went to see Hairspray in Philly, like on tour, and
Mhm.
they brought home the cast recording, and I just like went crazy. Like I was so obsessed with it. And I remember like making my mom play it like every time we were in the car. But like I'm pretty sure one time we were driving down the shore and I wanted to see how many times we could play It Takes Two in a row on the drive. So we just listened to it over and over and over again. And so I always credit Hairspray with like making me fall in love with theater. And so that's kind of where we started. And then I got to see it on Broadway when I was I think like a junior in high school. I did a summer program at Barnard College and like they took us to see Hairspray on Broadway and it was really cool to see
Wait,
it after all
uh,
those years.
I don't know if you follow Josh Rosen on TikTok, but the Hairspray Awareness Task Force that he is
No,
promoting is the funniest thing in the world. He has this whole campaign of like the world doesn't talk about hairspray enough and like the awareness is not there for young people. And so he wants like a task force to be implemented on the streets, like to make sure that hairspray awareness is
that's really funny. Well, I could be involved because I love hairspray.
also like great taste at an early age. Like what a perfect show of
Yeah, right.
like Jerry Mitchell is so fun, but also like so meaningful and like has something important to say.
No, I just really like got hooked on it really quickly and then can't even remember what other shows I saw between the ages of like 7 and like 14. The next like show I remember like begging to go see besides what my parents wanted to see was Rent. Went for my 15th birthday. My mom took me to see Rent on Broadway. But the movie had just come out and I was like obsessed with the movie and I all I wanted to do was see the show. So that's like and my mom didn't know what she was coming to see.
Right.
And it was just the two of us. It was fun. And then we went to see the movie together and like we had a blast. And then, it was sometimes I begged my parents to go see certain things and sometimes they just took us to what they wanted to see. But all was great. And funny enough, now obviously I work in theater. I don't think my sister has seen a Broadway show in like 7 years. So she does not
Wow.
care about theater. So we went opposite directions,
Two
which was
roads
very funny.
diverge.
And then the second part of the question was how I got into photography.
Hmm.
Yeah, so very, very long story short, I just like really loved video and things like that growing up. Did a lot of video editing. Every time there was a project we could do video for instead of like write a paper, I was gonna do the visual arts.
Totally.
But I never like knew or thought about, I mean, I took a photography class in high school, but it was, like film photography. I never thought about doing this as a job or that it was even a job. Like I didn't know that being a theater photographer was a job. Obviously, I
Right.
saw photos on Playbill and whatever, like production photos now from people that I'm like, friends with, like
Hmm.
Joan Marcus. Like I probably saw her photos everywhere and I just didn't know that it was a thing that was a job. And then studied a little bit of video in college, but it was all of our equipment was like out of date and just it was not super helpful. And then when I graduated, I bought myself a DSLR that kind of sat in my closet for like 7 years. I mean, I used it for fun every once in a while, but then I worked in television. I knew I wanted to work in entertainment. So I was like TV. So I was a set PA for like a year or a couple months. And then I was, I kind of did all the TV jobs, the office PA, the production coordinator, for like 2 years and then decided to go into casting. So then I became a reality TV casting producer for like 4 years. And then I was so burnt out from all of that. And it wasn't like super creative. And I guess I just wanted to be creative. Decided I was going to start a video business. So I took my camera out of the closet and I started building a portfolio. And I was lucky to know a couple of performers. I just kind of connected with them and started building my portfolio with people that wanted to sit in front of my camera and like sing a song or do whatever video wise. And then I started taking photos because I wanted my Instagram to look nice. So
There
I
you go.
started taking some photos to put beside the videos to like fill up my feed. And then it kind of just like snowballed in some capacity. I'm very grateful that it did. But yeah, I'm 100% like self-taught in photography and like pretty self-taught in video, to be honest, because I've been doing it since I was like 14 or 15.
I think it's so interesting you say self-taught because I think so many times people are afraid to like say, "Oh, I'm a director, I'm this or I'm that," like in creative fields because if you don't have a formal background, it feels hard to like legitimize yourself. And
Yeah.
so I'm curious like when you were transitioning from casting, was like video and photo something you were like doing on the side? Was it like something you were like, "Let me take my creative pursuits and just like dive fully in?" Like what did that transition look like? Because I feel like people think you blow up right away,
Yeah.
or you just get to where you are so quickly.
No, and definitely not in theater. You don't
Right.
it's like a very small industry and very like specific. And again, I didn't know that like being a theater photographer was a job and I didn't set out when I started my video business to be work in theater. I didn't
Mhm.
know that that was a thing. I just wanted to start a video business because I wanted to do something creative. I didn't want to sit at a desk anymore and I noticed there weren't like a lot of women that did video in
Mm-hmm.
New York. So I was like, well, at least from what I could see. And I was like, I could do it. Like, I love video. I feel like I'm creative enough. I didn't want to be on set all day either. So it was like kind of the happy medium to do both. When I started doing it, I want to say it was like May 2018,
Mm-hmm.
and I was still casting. So I was like building my portfolio as I was casting. And then November 2018 was my last day casting because I had planned a vacation, like a 2-week vacation. And then I had gotten a part-time job selling tickets in Times Square
Sure.
to ensure that I could like get out of casting because I didn't want to do it anymore. And that was the way I was like, oh, I can, go on vacation and then come back and start fresh doing this where I have some sort of steady income, even though it's a customer
Right.
service job. So I did that. And then I figured, I could do photo and video on the side. But again, like I wasn't thinking about that it would be theater. I just kind of wanted to do it. And obviously, when you're first starting out, you kind of just say yes to everything anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But because I think I had built my portfolio mostly with theater artists, the opportunities kind of just came in from
Right.
that because it's a lot of like word of mouth. Part of how I kept getting gigs was word of mouth, and it kind of snowballed from like a shoot I did that ended up being like a 2-hour photo shoot, but I was going into it as like thinking I was going to do a video shoot, and then it turned into a photo shoot. So
Pivot,
I think that's
pivot.
kind of how I got a lot of photography opportunities. And also like, asking for things to get
Mhm.
practice. I think the first gig I ever got paid for in theater, well, like at all, I think was something that I reached out to on Instagram and said, can I shoot your show? And they said, hey, we already have a photographer, but if you want to come like to the sound check, you're welcome to like practice all that you want. And I was like, that's really cool. It was at Sony
Totally.
Hall. It was a lot of big Broadway people involved. And I was like, that's awesome, sure. And then their photographer dropped out. So their photographer dropped out like 2 days before, and they're like, actually, do you want to come shoot the show? And somehow I was still like not getting paid for it. So I don't know if the original photographer was just like doing it for free, which like could have been the case, which I don't love. But it was like somehow I was still doing it for free, but then I did such a good job that the person Venmoed me anyway, which was like very nice of them.
Well, there you go.
And we're still friends, and I work with him all the time. But that's like a memory that stands out, is that just, I was just asking for opportunities to get in spaces that I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
be in, and it worked out like that.
I
So
always say, like, you plant a million seeds and you never know what seed's going to grow and what's going to be the seed that, like, takes you places. So you mentioned at the time you didn't see a lot of other female videographers, and there's quite a sisterhood of Broadway photographers from Joan Marcus, who you mentioned, Jenny Anderson, and I'm curious, like, what that fellowship has meant to you.
well, obviously, when I was starting out doing video, and again, I didn't know I was going to end up in theater, it kind of keeps pulling me back in. I mean, like even during the pandemic, I tried to pivot to a different type of video. I took like a video for business course and was going to start doing video for small businesses, and but then I just got pulled back into theater, which like obviously I'm very grateful for.
Totally.
But at the time, everything was shut down, which was scary. When I was first starting the video pursuit, I didn't know anything. Like I didn't know anything about this industry or the video industry in general. And I'm sure there was like so many women doing video. I just
Hmm.
didn't know. I just had no idea. And in my head, I guess being a woman, I just think that I'm always just seeing a lot of industries, especially the film industry, being dominated by men. So I was like, if that's something that I'm interested in and something I feel like I can do, it would be cool to do it, because I just feel like that I could add to the women that are doing this
Totally.
job really well already. And I was like, I think I can do it. I think I can do it. So it was kind of nice, like, when I did transition into theater or like start doing theater more frequently. Obviously, again, at the beginning, I was kind of just saying yes to everything, but I quickly figured out that I wanted to pursue theater when I realized it was a job that I could make my full-time job, which is still so crazy that like I'm a full-time theater photographer and videographer. Like that's still insane to me. But it was kind of nice to see. Actually coming out of the pandemic, I was not full-time before the pandemic, so I was only part-time because I had my part-time job.
Hmm.
And so coming out of the pandemic, when I had lost my part-time job and the only thing I had was like to pursue this full-time, I got to do a lot of the reopenings of the Broadway shows.
Hmm.
And it was actually really cool because I looked around and I realized there was like so many women on the carpet. And like actually almost like more women doing theater photography than men at certain carpets, which was
Hmm.
cool. I've even noticed a lot of the, bigger outlets like the Getty and the Shutterstock and the AP, like they even have a lot of women photographers now, which is so nice
Wow.
because it's just like such a nice vibe to have just a room full of women taking
Totally.
photos. Just feels safe. And, I've worked with a ton of men that are lovely in the industry. And I'm like more so thinking like the Getty photographers and stuff. Like when you get to work next to the male photographers that have been doing this forever and they're really nice, like that's
Mhm.
like such a, I hate to say it's a breath of fresh air, but
Right.
sometimes they look at, women as like not as skilled. I guess.
Hmm.
And so it's cool to work with people that don't feel that way, especially when you have a red carpet full of other women. And
Totally.
yeah, like it's been so surreal to like connect with these photographers that I, again, probably grew up loving their photos, but not in the capacity of ever thinking that this was a job that I would have. And now being like friends with them or being on panels with them. I mean, I've been on Broadway Con panels with Joan Marcus and Jenny Anderson, and really cool. Jenny was like one of the first people that I connected with kind of at the beginning of this journey when she was looking for a new assistant. And I didn't have like any photo experience. I was still building my portfolio, but I sent her like what I had had and we got coffee, and it didn't work out because I had a full-time job and most of her stuff
Sure.
was during the day, but like we connected even if we never worked together at that time. But I've worked with her a lot since, both for her and like side by side with her, which has been
Mhm.
really cool. And she's obviously like the best of the best, so it's like really cool to just like have like know her, you know.
To be in her world. Since you photograph a range of like live events, backstage, red carpet, like what does your process, like how does it change for each medium? Or does it not?
Oh, that's a good question.
What does your Tony's prep look like?
So I call myself like an event and live performance photographer because those are the things that I think that I excel in. I love doing anything where I can be like a ninja kind of like behind the scenes, fly on the wall. People are like, I didn't even know you were there. I just love capturing like what is already happening and like capturing it for everyone else to see, if
Hmm.
that makes sense. And so obviously I do a lot of different things. And almost everything is very fast paced and like quick turnarounds and late nights, and it's crazy. But I think the like kind of through line through everything is just like adaptability, because I think that there's so many instances where I'm just like thrown into a situation like on an opening night or Tony's Day or whatever it is, where I'm just like, you want me to do what? How, or like I did a shoot recently where it was, a combination of like backstage and on stage, which is like very different lighting. And so it's like being able to adapt between the dressing rooms and the stage lighting is just quick on the fly. Try not to like overthink anything. I actually like, I'm so type A, and so I love having all the information up front, but sometimes that stresses me out a little bit when I do. And in the moments where I've shown up to things, like I'll show up to an opening night and they're like, oh, actually, we want you to go backstage and shoot with the cast because we already have a photographer on the carpet. I'm like, you want me to what? But then I think that it would have been more stressful to think about that ahead of time.
Totally.
Because like there are certain shoots that I just always get butterflies for, especially the intimate like backstage moments, the
Hmm.
getting ready with people. Like those are like very special moments, and you have a very limited time to get the shot. And so sometimes it's like nice to not overthink it.
Totally. I've heard you mention before that it means a lot to you to have photographed someone at like their 54 Below debut and then at their Tony's acceptance. And like, what does it mean to you to be along for that ride for so many people?
Oh, you have such good questions. You did like
Thanks.
so much good research.
Thanks.
I assume you read like my Instagram
I
captions.
like to do a deep dive. So like
I
I'm
can
type A
tell.
too. Like I need to be so
I
prepared.
was just having this conversation with someone last night. I was like, were you there? Was I talking to you about
Like,
this?
you're bugged. You're bugged. The
That's
secret's out.
crazy. Yeah, I think it's really special. Like, I think a cool thing about this industry is that since it is kind of small and, obviously it's huge. There's like 43 don't quote me on that. Oh my God, there's so many Broadway theaters,
Yes.
and there's so many off-Broadway theaters and off Broadway. And I also do a lot of galas and I do a lot of nonprofit work for theaters. And there's so many different things happening. But I think there's such a community around it. So it's
Mhm.
like cool that when I go to shoot galas, it's like the same people. Like I get to see these people at multiple events, and there's some people I see at like, leading up to the Tonys, for instance. Like I saw Sam Pinkleton like 5 times in one week and was taking this photo everywhere. And his husband started saying that I was like their personal photographer. And like that's like really cool because and then obviously he won the Tony, and it's really special to like be able to have documented that process
Mhm.
for him, like those memories so that he can have them. But I think it's like really cool because I did start predominantly at 54 Below. I was lucky that I had some friends that I've known for like years and years that were like kind of coming up in the 54 Below space at the same time that I was starting out, and they let me like shoot their shows so I could get that experience, even if it was like for like $50, which I don't recommend working for $50, but
Yes.
you gotta do what you gotta do at the beginning.
Right. And
Um,
just putting yourself out there and knowing like to be creative, you do need to build your craft
yeah,
and to be willing to just like pitch yourself. You never know
yeah.
like who's gonna say yes, and the worst they could do is say no.
Yeah, I will interject though and give my favorite piece of advice in case anyone's listening
Please.
to this that wants to be a theater photographer. I always say, first of all, there's plenty of theater outside of Broadway. There's regional theater, community theater, etc. If you are trying to build your portfolio, especially in theater, I always suggest give yourself like a number of projects that you will do by like sliding into people's DMs or like cold
Mhm.
emailing and offering to shoot this rehearsal or this production, whatever, for your portfolio. But then after you hit that number, like it's five, let's say,
Mhm.
then you start putting a price on your work. Because like once you have five pieces of work in your portfolio that show that you can do what you say you can do, then like you're ready to start charging, right? So
Right.
that's what I always say. I mean, like obviously if there's something you want to do, you
Put
ask
yourself
for it, and there might be like opportunities regardless. But I think like if you're trying to make a living out of it, you don't want to get stuck in just like the continuous offering to do it for your portfolio 50 times and you like have a beautiful portfolio and you haven't gotten paid for anything. So anyway,
Right. And
that's
I
my
think
suggestion.
it's very important to like legitimize yourself.
Oh yeah, because you don't want to get stuck being, oh, she's free or she's really cheap. You want to set those boundaries for yourself so that you can like legitimize yourself from the beginning
Totally.
after you have proven already that you know what you're doing. But anyways, so it's been cool because I did do so many 54 Below shows. I mean, I used to be there like 2 or 3 times a week sometimes, and now it's very less frequent because I'm so busy. But if I have a friend that's producing a show, happy to shoot it. For obviously I ask for money now, but like
Yes. Yes.
it's cabaret, so it doesn't pay super well, but it's something you have to, I think all of theater, you really have to enjoy theater to work in theater
Right.
because you're probably not going to be a billionaire. But if
Yes.
you love it, like it won't feel like a job, which I think is really important. It's been really cool to like, there's certain people I met at 54 Below that I now have worked with on like multiple opening nights or like getting ready for their Broadway shows or have watched them like win Tonys. Like it's just so crazy to see that and like follow them on this journey that we just like met in the basement when we were both starting out. This girl, Kayla, she just left & Juliet, but she was in that very first concert that I shot at Sony Hall, like my very, very first job. And she was in college and she got chosen to like sing with them on stage. When she went to & Juliet for her Broadway debut and I work on & Juliet, we like had like a meltdown over the fact that we were like working on the same show together and like look how far we've come
Right.
to
And
get to where we are. So it's like really cool stuff like that.
it feels like classmates coming up together. And
Yeah,
I have a bit of a walk down memory road for you. If we want to rapid fire go through a few of your photos, and if you want to tell me
sure.
the inspiration behind the photo, what was happening in that moment, we're going to start with the big everyone's talking about, maybe happy ending. Tony
Uh,
Wynn, Helen J. Shen, Darren Criss, Michael Arden. What is happening here?
I love this photo.
It's so good because they're all so happy.
I know. It was so cool to be there. I have been like working on maybe happy ending quite a bit with the social media team who I love. And I, was like, if you need a photographer for the after party, I would love to be considered for that. And, I knew I was like shooting at the Tonys carpet, like before the Tonys,
Mhm.
but I was like, I don't even, like, I will get there. I don't know what my day will look like, but I will be there. And it was just so fun. Like the energy in the room was just electric to be there after they won all
I'm
those
sure.
Tonys. It was crazy and everyone looked so beautiful. And it was just fun to capture just the energy of them.
Especially because they were like the little engine that could. Like they
Yeah,
had such a triumphant journey. And so for you to be at like the greatest high is so special.
it was
Next,
really cool.
we have Idina Menzel, Kristin Chenoweth at Redwood.
Oh yeah, this was crazy. I didn't know that it was happening. This was one of those moments where I am very glad that I didn't know what was
You
happening.
did you think you were just going to Redwood? Like what was happening?
I just was hired for like something special that was happening on stage at the curtain call, and so I didn't know until I got there what was going to happen. And like again, this was a moment where I was very happy not to know because I would have been like, oh my gosh. And then like those photos like blew up because everyone
Totally.
was like freaking out about it. So like I was so happy that I kind of like blacked out and then it was over. But I
Right.
was like, oh, I got some good
You're
photos.
like, thank God I
I
remembered to
figured.
take pictures. Like I
Yeah, and I
remembered
was
that.
like, I was literally like behind the camera, like shaking. I was like, as I love Wicked, so it's just, yeah, that was a really cool moment to be able to capture as like that fly on the wall because
Mhm.
that's a moment that people I think will be like looking back at in like 10 years and be like, oh, remember when this happened? So that
Mhm.
was like so cool to be there. Shout out to Grapevine for hiring me for that shoot.
Love. Because it also, it's like in the Wicked Renaissance moment, it also felt like almost like Adina passing the baton to Kristin, like Queen of Versailles coming this year.
Yeah,
Like, what a moment, truly.
it was cool.
Next, we have Eva Noblezada, Great Gatsby. I
Yeah.
mean, this is like Grand Central it's just insane.
Yeah, this is a good one for like the theme of your podcast since we have not
Yes.
talked about dressed rehearsal. Like we have
Right.
not talked about like style at all.
But it's your style in photography. It's like your point of view. It can be any like it's anything you make it. And I think that's why it's so
Yeah.
interesting. But like she's a style icon. Like she knows fashion.
Yeah. It's, again, the same social media team for Maybe Happy Ending that I've been lucky to work with on many different shows. Been working on Great Gatsby since the press day for Paper Mill, and then I still do a lot of shoots with them. And so obviously when the show was announced it was going to Broadway, they wanted to do like a photo shoot with Eva, like marquee style, and then kind of just like themed of the show
Mhm.
obviously. And she is a queen, and she showed up with like a suitcase full of different outfits that she just had that looked like they were from the 1920s. And
Right.
so she put all these looks together and like styled herself. And it was so fun to like kind of make it almost like a period piece shoot, which like was not even the thought going into it. It was just like, come to this shoot. Like if you have something that kind of looks like Great Gatsby, that would be awesome, but like don't worry about it. And then the bottom one obviously is from opening night. So I had to do backstage a little bit, like super quickly, and then, go to like the vintage cars with them and everything was themed. Everyone kind of dressed the part of the show, which was fun. That was really cool. It always gives me so much life when people show up to their shoots in like period clothing or like on a theme. I love a
Mhm.
themed shoot. I think the clothing really is so inspiring sometimes to like how I want to take a photo, which is cool.
Totally. And I think when you're working one-on-one with a subject, like the trust that you have to build with them is so special. And like you can see here, like she feels so comfortable and she's just like giving it everything. And so I think
Yeah.
also something to like be so proud of that you can build
Yeah.
that in the middle of Grand
She
Central.
told my parents that she loved working with me because I made her feel really comfortable on camera, which like was a really special moment to have my parents like see the Great Gatsby from like the fifth row and she like sang her face off. And then when we saw her backstage and she just was able to say that to them was like really special. So I'm glad that
Right.
you can see it too.
And like you're in the middle of Grand Central, it's mayhem. Like to make someone
Yeah.
comfortable there, you could make them comfortable anywhere.
I think this was the first that was the first time we ever shot shot together, I think, actually.
Wow. Okay, there
Which
you
was
go.
like,
All right, next we have Jennifer Nettles, who I say is underrated and I love, and
I
Sara
love her
Bareilles
so
as
much.
Waitress.
Yes, this Waitress is my favorite musical. Love Waitress so much. This was specifically from Jennifer Nettles' first show,
Mhm.
and I was shooting the curtain call for like a theater outlet that I shoot for, and I got to have all these really cool opportunities shooting with them, and they asked me if I wanted to cover this curtain call, and I said, absolutely, it's my favorite show, and I love Sara Bareilles' music since I was in high school, so like obviously anything to be in that room. And since then, I've taken her photo a million times, and like 16-year-old Rebecca is like, what is happening?
Right, there's your pinch me, like always a
But
pinch me.
yeah, I also love Jennifer Nettles, have also loved Jennifer Nettles since I was in high school. So this is like a really when I took this specific photo, I remember like walking out the curtain call and looking at the curtain calls are so fast and so stressful. So when you are walking out, you're always like, did I get the shot? Did I get the shot? And I like looked at my camera. I was like, oh, I got the shot.
You're
Great.
like done. We know.
Yeah.
Next, Lin-Manuel Miranda in the middle of Times Square.
This is another one when I was shooting for the outlet that I've been talking about, and they asked me to cover this, and I said, of course, because obviously Sondheim passing away was just such a big, sad moment for the industry. But this was one of those crazy press events where it's just there's a million photographers and you kind of have to like fight for the shot. And it's like you just have to get in there. Also, I've taken many, many photos of Lynn over the years as well, which is like really cool.
Okay, here we have Jeremy Jordan, Kerry Washington, famously did An American Son together.
She came to see him when he was in Little Shop, and I was asked to photograph the meet and greet, obviously, and I love Kerry Washington, so I said yes immediately. Also, big Jeremy Jordan fan. I think he was like actually in that very first concert that I took photos of that I was talking about,
The
but
circle.
like I've taken many, many photos of him over the years, but this was pre-Gatsby, and now since working on Great Gatsby, I've taken a million photos of Jeremy Jordan, and he's so lovely. But this was like probably one of the first times I was like working with him, and they just had such a lovely relationship. So it was fun to kind of document it from the background.
Love it. So we have mother-daughter duo, LaShawns and Celia, and then we have power couple, Ben Platt, Noah Galvin.
Yes, this was when the Proman Performing Arts Center downtown PAC was opening, and it was like their second or third week, and they were opening with like these downtown sessions. I got to photograph them, which was like really cool because obviously it's like Broadway royalty, and I actually known Celia for like years and years. Celia with her mom was really cool. And then obviously Ben Platt. I mean, iconic.
Well, and just to note, like I'm pretty sure Celia and LaShawns are the only mother-daughter duo to be on Broadway at the same time, which is like the craziest
Oh,
thing. And how
yeah.
sweet of like a time to share together. But yes, back to
Yeah,
Ben
that's
Platt.
crazy. Back to Ben
And
Platt.
it's always back to Ben Platt.
It's cool because I've gotten to photograph LaShawns and Ben Platt also like so many, and Celia obviously so many times over the years too, which is like crazy to just be like all these Broadway legends that I just feel like so grateful that I have gotten to even like be in the same room with.
The outfit, like the moment, everything. Michaela Diamond. This is opening night of Parade on Broadway, yes.
Yes, 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 yes.
Tell me everything.
I feel like I'm gonna like show all my cards here. Okay, I this was like I'm pretty sure the first time that I ever shot someone getting ready for an opening night. Her press team hired me to do that for a People exclusive. It was also my first time ever being in People magazine. It was so cool. And I love Parade, and so also a very special show to me, like very honored to be shooting Michaela Diamond on opening. You know, she's so connected to her religion, and like I feel very passionate about photographing like Jewish projects,
Mhm.
and like it's a good way to like use my art to tell a story or like help to bring Jewish
Right.
things to life. And I think it's like very important. I love working on Jewish things. So I was super excited to work with her on this and like see the little like pieces of herself that she was able to put into this look. It just went so well. She's so lovely and she's so good on camera and she's so beautiful.
She
So
knows her
the mix of
angles.
all of it, and it was really chill. And like, I love Jake, who was styling it. And so it just was like, just such a perfect storm of all these elements that came together to like make these photos, including the fact that usually dressing room shoots are so fast and furious. And this one was fast and furious, but she got ready so quickly that we had time to do this, which was
Mhm.
nice. It was like kind of a moment of like self-reflection, but it was just like a perfect photo. And she was gracious enough to just sit for me and like let me capture these moments for her, which are like so intimate. And then I got to do it again for her getting ready for the Tonys, which was like really cool to be back there after having done that already and then being able to be like, well, how can I make it better?
Right. And I think there's something to the fact that her and Ben were the first two like Jewish performers to lead
Yeah,
parade, which is
yeah.
wild. And also like she's wearing her like natural curly hair. Like I'm a curly swirly girl. Like I always straighten my hair. And like
Yeah.
that is such a part of being Jewish for a lot of people. And I think that she was just so in her purpose and like in her identity. And to have like such a cerebral like dressing room, it all just like comes together. Like the composition is just so beautiful. You can just see that like she's taking in how important this moment will be for her for a really long time. And I think you captured every part of it.
Thank you.
And then I guess we're going on a Jewish tangent because last but not least, we have Broadway Con.
Yeah. Oh, Broadway Con, yes. Also Fast and Furious. They did like a Jewish identity panel at Broadway Con, I guess, that was really important. Obviously, there's like, a lot of rise in anti-Semitism, podcast for another time. It was a really special panel to be able to photograph because it was just talking about how important it is for, Jewish people to play Jewish roles, especially when they're based off of like real life people in shows. And they got this like amazing panel of people to be involved. I am very friendly with the Suskowers, and they were putting this panel together. And I was actually the staff photographer at Broadway Con that year, so I was already there taking photos. So I was like, I'm coming to capture your panel. I want to be a part of this. I want to, again, use my art to like tell this story because obviously I'm not on the panel, but I think that I can capture it. And it is very important for me to be that Jewish voice on the other side of the camera to capture this like important moment. And obviously, like a table full of people that I love and admire that have played important Jewish roles in theater and then also good friends of mine. So it's like very cool to have been able to capture that.
Totally. It is so special to have your unique stamp and feel not only are you like photographing something that you love, like Broadway, but like to bring your identity into it too feels like such a fun melding of worlds. One final question for you.
Yeah.
And since this podcast is all about like finding your personal style, I'm curious when people are deciding on like who they want to photograph, what are the words that you want to come to mind? Like, what do you want your signature stamp to be in this industry? It's a big question.
Oh my gosh.
If people lined up 10 Broadway photos and asked which was yours, like, what do you think would give it away? Like, what is the part of you that you hope people see?
I feel like I should have an answer to this question because people always are saying, like, you should know what makes you special
But
when
it's
it
hard.
comes to your photos. I mean, I do hear a lot from people that, oh, I could immediately tell that that was your photo when I saw so and so post it. And I don't know if it's like, my editing style, but I do very much appreciate when people, go out of their way to tell me why they love working with me. And a lot of it is always that I am very like a warm personality and that I am always smiling, which I'm not always smiling, but I do try to be like a happy, friendly face when I'm going to work. And people always say they feel very comfortable with me behind the camera. I've had many, many people say that they were very happy to see me on a red carpet because it made them feel more comfortable getting their photo taken. And I don't know, I've been trying to like, learn that it's okay to have my own style and that each person is doing it in a way that is good for them. And, I don't think that you're always gonna be everyone's cup of tea. And I think that that's fine because then there are people that it's like you're the only like tea that they want to be drinking.
Hmm.
In such a very, that was so like Amaya Papaya coded if you watch Love Island, but um,
I think it's true though.
You know, and I've been trying to teach myself that it's okay to like stand in my space and like take up that space on my own, and like that I'm very proud of like my style and like how I edit and how I take photos, and I'm such a perfectionist and I want everything to look perfect, but like it doesn't have to be.
Mhm.
And it doesn't, and I don't have to be like everyone else to like be successful, you know?
I think that's a perfect place to end. And I'm laughing because this is a little cheesy, but I have on my desktop this like little sticky note and it says take up space, underline, 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 authentically and unapologetically. And I think it's something that we always need to remember and it's easy to forget. So
Yeah.
I thank you. I thank you for your openness and for being on the podcast and just letting us kind of pick your brain and get your point of view. So we really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. I had fun.
Of course.